In this tutorial, I want to show you how to upload your website onto a server on the web so that users on the web can actually see your pages and can browse through all the different pages. The process of uploading files onto a remote server, and when I say remote, it's a server that's away from you, probably over the internet somewhere. The process of doing that almost always involves this protocol called FTP, which stands for File Transfer Protocol. Now, FTP is something that you won't use that often, but when you're uploading files in bulk or en masse to a server, it's usually the only thing that you use. And there are a number of ways to approach it. Usually you'd have some type of what they call FTP Client, a piece of software on your machine, on your Mac or your PC, that acts as this interlink between your computer and the server on the internet someplace. There are a host of FTP clients out there that you can download and install onto your machine. But if you're using Dreamweaver to handle your website in any case, it's always a good idea to use the FTP client that is inbuilt into Dreamweaver itself. It's much easier, and it's tied and linked in very closely into the whole concept of a Dreamweaver site. Now, the whole workings and how to set up a Dreamweaver site is dealt with in another tutorial. But just make sure that if you're following this tutorial, that the way that you know that you have a Dreamweaver site set up is over here in the Files panel. You can see a folder here, and you can see all of your different files that are in this site coming up here in the Files panel. If you don't have a Dreamweaver site set up, more than likely what you will see is something like this in your Dreamweaver, in your Files panel, which isn't as good. So make sure that you've got a site set up, and refer to that other tutorial to find out how to do that. To handle connecting to the server, if we've got a Dreamweaver site already set up, the best way is to go in here into this drop-down menu and pick in Manage Sites. So this will bring up the Manage Sites dialog box. Pick the site that you're interested in and say you want to edit that site. And this brings up the same site setup dialog box that you'll have seen if you were actually setting up a Dreamweaver site from the first time. And from here on in, we could set up the server as we're setting up the Dreamweaver site, or we can go back to it later when we're ready to upload it to the server. In any case, it's the same situation. So when we want to deal with the server, the obvious place to deal with all of that information is here in the servers category on this dialog box. So I'm going to click on servers. At the moment we've got no servers defined here in this box. But what we want to do is we want to add a server in here. Add new server using this plus icon. There's a number of different things that we have to put in this dialog box. So let's go through them one by one. The first thing is the server name. Now the server name is what's going to actually arrive over here in the Files panel, and also any of the Managed Sites dialog boxes that you open up, it will be identified by the server name. So the server name is really so that you can recognize the different sites, because you might be working on more than one site at the same time and you want to flick between them. So whatever your site name is, just type it into the server name. For this example, because I'm going to be using the WEX student server, I'm going to type in the server name as just simply WEX student. Next, I'm going to go to the FTP address. Now the full FTP address is the full web address of the WEX student server. So I'm going to type in the full address, wexstudent.itcarlo.ie. The next two boxes are prompting you for your username and password. Now this is your username and password, your FTP username and password that has been given to you by your host for this particular server. Next, underneath your username and password, we see a test button, and then we've got a text box saying root directory. Now I'll deal with both of those at the same time. First of all, your test button. Your test button, you can click on it just to make sure that there's an actual link between your Dreamweaver here on your side of things and the server that's at the remote location. But remember that what you're testing there is that you're linking straight into what we call the root of the host, or the root of the server, which means that you're not going into any particular folder in your server. You're just going just inside your own account. If you want to go inside a particular folder, that's where this root directory text box comes in. We can type in the name of the folder, and then when I link in using this connection that I've defined here, it will go straight into that folder, and it will make things a lot easier that way. Now that's something that I'm going to be talking a lot about in one of the next tutorials when we're talking about uploading your assignments for the year, because this whole idea of having separate folders for each of your different assignments is quite important. So just watch this space and I'll deal with that in a later tutorial. But if everything has gone well and your username and password works and you've clicked on test and there's an actual test there, then we can just click on save and click on save again in this box, which is quite important, and click on done on the manage sites dialog box. Down in the files panel, it doesn't probably look as if much has changed, but I have a Dreamweaver site here, and now the key thing is that I can use either of these buttons here, especially this button, the up arrow button, that I can select particular files, click that up arrow button, and it will just automatically put all of those files that I've selected into either the root of my server or into whatever root directory I've defined as being my root directory. And it makes it very, very easy to handle my files on that server and upload them easily. And that's how to link into a server using the FTP client in Dreamweaver.